Check, 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 check. How's that for the feed? Okay. Check, check, check. 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 Oh yeah, why is that? Is it coming? Is it coming through? Check, check.
Okay.
Check, check.
Turn it down. Yeah, sorry, I turned it up because. Yeah. Okay.
Check, check. Check, check. Check, check. Good there? Check, check.
Probably quieter than that because I'll be.
Test, test. I think someone was trying to get paid. You get that check? Ang buwas dit. Naga o dawagin at name barbine. Hanid daus kamin narin ang piyon sagit siya bine. Inapidabit tawad. Nandiyan na wadi kya bine yung kyabit. Hanid data anarp damit ne. Untagi terhi tawad tanden ya unta patna. Pechezon ningi damishin yetas. Yako nichi unta stabita unta kyabit ruto kamitats. Echinne dagun yapidabit ne topche gyapinot ingi chapitats. Chin what to draw high tats. Does that keep cutting out for everyone? Can everyone hear me? Oh wait. Hold that check. Amboastids, check 1, 2. All right, check 1, 2. Sneas, thank you. Welcome. Oki, Tanitada, Amboastids, Tanse. Assalamu alaikum, bonjour. Ni hao. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. And this is our third session of the SAIT Truth and Reconciliation event series. This initiative was led by community members across campus who offer time to reflect on our commitment to fostering an inclusive and culturally sensitive learning environment. So this initiative holds immense importance as it allows us to engage in meaningful conversations, gain deeper insight into Indigenous and Canadian histories, as well as experiences and perspectives. And most importantly, to take meaningful steps and actions toward healing and understanding. Now, my first language is the Yithka Stony Nakota language. And in our tradition, in our community, we always speak to each other in our languages first out of respect to our elders. And so we've got 3 elders here today that are going to share something very powerful. And to honor that spirit, to honor that power of healing, we've lit smudge and we've smudged the area. This will be challenging. And so after our prayer, we're going to offer more supports to everyone here, anyone that's listening. But in all community gatherings, in all gatherings across this nation, including at the gathering of Treaty 7, the anniversary of which was a couple days ago, we start all of our discussions of importance with a prayer. And so, to bless us with a prayer and an opening and a prayer to our spirits, our Nari, the spirits of the children that never went home, a prayer to the land, the grandmother earth that protects us, the grandfather sky, grandfather sun, all that look after us, everything that looks after us here, that gives us life sustenance. We're going to make an offering of tobacco to our elder Mixicum to offer a prayer.
Okay, next up. First of all, in my language, we always welcome you by saying, welcome my relatives. We all related in this world, whether we know it or not. We're one people in one Mother Earth. The day we realize, take the borders and all these things, man-made things, and look to the Creator to guide us, we will be a better world. Those are things we pray for. So I will pray in my Blackfoot language. That's my first language. English is my second language. So with that, I always use that. You may not understand the words, but the prayers cover everything good for everybody. Everything to understand, to feel, to carry the things with you. I always say, walk the talk. You don't just carry your thoughts, forget about your feelings and your behavior. We all have spirits within us. That's when the spirit comes home and you feel much better. So those prayers are universal with all nations. We pray for all people like we pray for our little children. And especially today, we're going to talk about those children that went to residential school. And so with that, keep it in mind. Think of a 6-year-old boy that's sent to a school like myself. And I could see my house from the top floor of that school, but I can't go home. Think about that. But today, places like this, it's a blessing for our children to come free, to learn, and to go home and have a nice warm bed, a mother, relatives to go to. With that, I would say the prayer. I spät appeal. I kipitaki kitajohto kiskanotuni tawa tsemuikahtama. Ana kito pio akapuka wakaki. O kahkohtoki meamuksi. Kohti meamanistannista koi pinnan. Anni katsitotopi pinnan aamuksaki koaksitokitaopima. Okei, kähkänä kanatoi, pieni kiekajissummattu. Anna kano katto tooppi, vakana kommakitapio. Johtuu kammokina nohsiitskoi. Ääket siitä on määrässä sapuu kohpina, iksiiko. Ääkse siipo jo panika niitä kojo. Eikä kohtakki kaakki mau panoksiistekoi. Antaa niistä joukskäitä piismääntsi kaikaakki mahpinaan. Tauaksistoi siipinä päätäpiokset. Okei, nohki peskotuukin ainakin naahsenaan. Aakit sokaapio, ainakin taakit sinne katuukin. Sahkomaapio, aamukoka, toipiiksi. Okei, tässä ei suhutiin, kakkaan nohkoon. Kanaa sokaapio, ainakin nohkohsi katuukinaan. Aina kaskille maatsa, ahkaajikaakkimaa. Ahkaajikaakkimat, se on ainakin taskille maatsuukua. Okei, sitten päätä, mitä patsa muiskani koukaa, nää toissa pois. Aika nouannakaan niitä sitä piikoja. Anna jokainen katsomaan, okina pious. Näistä watsemaan. Kammutaan jahti päätä.
So I'll go over an overview of the event. My name is Wathuida. My English name is Thomas Snow. And I'm your host for today's event, Survivors Series, the stories of children that attended Indian residential schools. The stories shared today may trigger emotions, and I want you to know that it is healthy to cry and normal to express empathy because we're We're all human. We're all human. However, if you feel that you would benefit from talking to someone, we have counselors that have joined us in blue SAIT shirts. So if you could stand up, give us a wave. If you need someone to talk to, just find one of these beautiful ladies with the blue shirts on, Shalane and Julie. They can help you out and give you an ear to talk to. We have room AA 110, AA 110. Not sure where that is. Oh, it's right behind us. Okay. In this grand building, AA 110, there is a designated wellness space. So if you need to leave for a moment, step aside, go somewhere, calm yourself, center yourself, then please feel welcome to use that wellness space. Oh, I think Alice is heading there now. Oh. Additionally, there is a table with mental health resources for students and staff at the back of the atrium. So you can see all the space back there. There's mental health resources back there as well. In respect of the speakers, I do ask you to turn your cell phones to silent. So no Beyonce blaring while the speaker is talking. So otherwise, I'm going to point at you the whole time. There's also cups of coffee, tea, and brew, as well as a piece of bannock. Those are located at the back table, so don't be shy. If you feel like you need some bannock, you can just head back there, get yourself a piece, get yourself some coffee, get yourself some water. You want to stay hydrated. And we do have a limited number of free orange shirts that are available at the back table. So my guess is they're back there somewhere. I can't see them right now, but if you do feel like you would like an orange shirt, feel free to take one. I'm going to say this again, take one, Wazi. And with that, I'll introduce our first speaker. Huh? Wherever you want. All right, Clarence, you want to go first? Okay. All right, we had the elders draw straws, and our lucky winner, Elder Mexican, is a member of the Siksika Nation, and his Blackfoot name translates to Red Crane. This name was also his fourth great-grandfather's name, who watched over the eastern Siksika border for many years back in the 1600s. He attended the Old Sun Indian Residential School and used the name given to him, which is Clarence Wolfleg. In 2013, he finished his last term as Siksika Nation Chief and Council. He was elected for 10 terms as member of Siksika Council and served under many chiefs during this time. He is a member of the Sacred Horn Society and the Brave Dog Society, which are traditional Blackfoot societies. He is a 7-year veteran of international peacekeeping initiatives in the mid-1960s, and upon return from the peacekeeping initiative, he became a police officer and served 14 years as an RCMP Special Constable. He served as Chief of Police for Siksika Nation and worked for Corrections Canada. He was also employed with Native Counseling Services of Alberta's court programs. In June 2021, during the spring convocation ceremony at MRU, Mount Royal University, Elder Mexican was awarded an honorary doctorate of law. In November 2016, at the fall convocation, Elder Mexican was awarded an honorary Bachelor of Arts degree in sociology for his long-standing affinity with Mount Royal University and his exemplary leadership in Calgary, Alberta, and Canada. Could you all join me in welcoming Mexican Clarence Wolfleg?
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I grew up with a big family. I have 4 older brothers. I have 1 younger brother and 3 younger sisters. I've lost my younger sister, my two older brothers, three. I took the number 2 spot when I lost my two older brothers. One of the things that I do when I was a little boy, I'm very accident prone. But my mother used to say, I used to get into a lot of trouble, spilling things, knocking things over. It's a thing I also brought to residential school, and I got into a lot of predicaments because it's when you're thinking something and you get a little mind block and you go to turn around, I know I better not knock that cup off the table. But when I turn around, I do knock that cup off the table. But what I learned from it is I never make the same mistake twice. That's what I learned about being accident prone. Today, I look at something and I see something or maybe there's something on the floor. And I say, somebody's going to step on that. I better pick it up. I go and do it. And I don't leave it for after, because I'm going to walk by that piece of paper or whatever. Or if somebody always looking after people, they may slip, they may fall. But before I went to residential school, that is the most sad part of my journey when I was 5.5 years old. When I was 4 years old, all we lived in is a 1900 house. We all slept on the floor. The girls had their bed, because I always put my young sisters ahead of us. We always want to make sure they're comfortable. So we have our bedroll, we'll put it on the floor. We all sleep on the floor, close to the stove. So you make sure the stove is full of coal in the winter, because if that stove goes out, it gets pretty cold. I measured our room one morning, and it was minus 20. It was 20 below in our room. Wow, we better make some fire. And in those days, you're very tough, very resilient, you're a young fellow. We're always outside. I never owned a dog in my life, but I always look after puppies and newborn, and I actually crawl under the barn. I check the dog that's going to have pups, and I roll him over. I check his stomach. Oh, you're going to come pretty soon there, lady. I always say, I got to make you, I know where he has puppies. He always goes to the same place. So I put bed in, and it's only this much space under the barn. So I would crawl and put all the nice fresh straw, put a towel over here, put some water there, everything I need to deliver these puppies. I mean, who's going to deliver? Maybe you run into a situation and I got to help her. So, and all of a sudden my mom says, we can't find so-and-so. Oh, he was going to have his puppy. So I would crawl under and I lay by her. Oh, pretty soon. And as they come out, I would dry them off, stick them in the straw. Every one of them. Wipe them. And I give them names. I call them all Bob. Bob with a white ear, Bob with a little Bob, Bob with the white feet. Their features. I says, this is Bob with a white face. This is little Bob. Don't pick on little Bob. I'm going to put him over here, so don't beat him up. So I learned something about myself. I always look after. Anything that I see is hurt. A little bird that falls off the tree. I find out, where's his mom? I got to put him back in the tree. Check him if he's hurt, then I put him back. That was my nature. Because I grew up in the middle of the family, and I always look after my younger sibling. I took it my responsibility to teach my younger sister how to wash dishes. We got a hot water, put it on the stove, and then I say you wash them in here and you rinse them in here. And she's standing on a stool, listening to me teach them how to wash dishes, or how to make a bannock or fry bread. I says, you watch me. This is how you mix it, knead it, get it all nice, and it's just nice and soft. Okay, now we put them in the oven. And that was me. But one night I was sitting by the nice fire, I couldn't sleep, and this Bob with a white ear somehow he got up on a cupboard. To this day, I don't know how he got up on a cupboard. Maybe somebody put him there and he was sleeping and I didn't see him. And I says, oh, Bob, what are you doing up here? You're going to fall off. Okay, come on over. And there's an old windows with a square window. Snow was falling. The snow was right up to our roof. We used to slide off the roof. We have to shovel our windows, our doors. That's how much snow falls in my younger days. And I was looking out the window, the lamp was flickering, and the reflection from the stove was flickering on the window. And my mom just finished telling me I got to go to that place. Are you going to go to that place? You're going to go sit over there. They never called it a school. To this day, I never call it a school. I call it that place. It's not a school. I don't know what it is, but I survived it. And I told Bob, pretty soon, you're going to have to take care of yourself. And you'll make sure you take care of yourself, because I'm not going to be away for a while. And I think Bob understood me, because he ran over on this side. He was kind of licking and biting my ear a little, playing with me. I says, okay, Bob, I'm kind of afraid right now. I don't know why, but I got to go to this place. You know, when I walked in, my mother bought me new clothes, shoes, because anytime we go someplace, my mother always buys us new clothes. And my grandfather worked in a store in Clooney, and he always gets new clothes ready for it. He used to stock in. He worked there for over 25 years. And he says, okay, the kids' clothes are ready. Pick them up, a nice GWG jacket, pants. I even had a little fedora like that guy. And I was really dressed really cool. Oh, man, it would be nice to see me with my new clothes. I thought I could wear my clothes. Oh, no. We walked in the front steps. The last time I ever walked in the front steps, I walked in, there's a sitting room, and there's a priest's office over here. I said, okay, you can sit in there. It was really nice to me. My little boy, he's sitting there, going to have a talk with your parents. I didn't understand anything he was saying, as I just spoke Blackfoot. And my mother said, go sit over there. We got to talk to the priest. And I was sitting there looking. Guys were peeking in, some of my friends that I knew. And I would talk Blackfoot to them. But they didn't talk back. They just shook their head. Can't talk. Oh, why? So, priest came in. Parents went out the door. There's me, and a total different change. The priest grabbed me by the shoulder. Come on there, little boy. You're going to have all day to take care of you. And I'm trying to struggling along. I'm 6 years old. I got nice boots. They're slippery. Down the stairs, and all these other people, take your clothes off. You got to take a shower. I took all my clothes, standing there in my birthday suit, and we're all lining up to take a shower. And this guy puts a bunch of white powder all over us. Some boys were laughing at us. And we went in, we all kind of cleaned ourselves up. I was sitting in a playroom, no clothes. Then we had to march outside, and this was close to fall, it's cold. We had to march outside to the place where we're going to get our clothes. And they just threw the clothes at us, threw the boots at us. My boots were about 3 sizes too big. I stuck, these are big boots here. I wonder if I can trade them in. I better not do that. I might get into trouble. I had 3 brothers that went ahead of me. They said, don't speak Blackfoot. Don't cry. And do what you're told. Boy, I could have cried a lot, but I held my tears and just really toughened it out. And I never seen my clothes. They put them in a sack and put them in a back room. And after 6 months, I guess I earned the right to go home for the evening. They pick us up at 4. They bring us back on Saturday at 4 o'clock. It's an overnight stay. That's the only time I see my hat is all crunched up. And I used to watch my father steam his cowboy hat. He's a rodeo guy. He's a roper. He's a bronc rider. So I would steam my hat and get it all nice again. Get it back. They just crunch it back in the back. You know, one of the things my mother told me, well, like some sad things and bad things will happen to you. But don't let those things bother you. Find something to make you happy. Find something, go to somebody, do something to make yourself happy. Because she went to the RC boarding school on the other side. My father went to this one. But they never talked about what happened. Or they said, don't do this, because I know. And when they do that, they put their heads down. They must think about what happened to them. I would go and say, it's going to be okay, Mom. You raised us to be strong, and I'm going to be strong. And I became kind of a natural leader of the dorm. We're all running around in our nightgowns, and we have to sleep at attention with a big cross on the top of our blanket. I mean, today I can't sleep on my back. I get nightmare. You sleep like this with your hands like this. That's like a dead person. You know, when you put somebody in a coffin, you put their hands like this. That's how we slept. And they check on you. And if you're sleeping the other way, they sure give you a strap. And those big wide straps, those implement belts, you know, for things that pull the pulleys on a big combine in the old days, those things they really hurt. The weapons they use, and the yardstick, the triangles, they just throw them at you. And for some reason, they'll sneak behind you and hit you in the head. Today, if somebody's behind me, I would stop and I would turn around and just go by me. Don't ever walk behind me. I'm glad I'm sitting up this way. Because any place I go, I always find where there's nobody behind me. But also, I was in the military. Who's looking after my back? Nobody. But in the military, we sit back to back. And we watch each other. We're under fire. So that was a good habit to keep. Make somebody has your back. And if somebody's in a place like this, I don't let anybody stand in the back of me. You know, when you look at it, we went through a lot. Or we got a big strapping because they found nits or lice in somebody's hair. They line us up and they cut all our heads right down to the bald head. But we sure find a guy that didn't keep his hair clean, and we'll give him a good beating. Not to hurt him, just to let him know, you should wash your hair. You should use that stuff we use. They slap him in the head. Well, we're used to getting slapped in the head, so it's okay to slap your buddy in the head. Come on, don't do that. You know, these guys do that to us. Just a reminder. But I do know personal hygiene was very good to learn. Wash your feet, wash your hair. So when I look at it, I don't dwell on the sad things or the bad things, because I always find a way to be happy. That's why I did all those things in my profile. I got courage. And before I left boarding school, I told my friends when I was little, when I leave this place, I'm going to be a soldier like my father, and I'm going to be a leader of my people. I did not know at 6 years old I set my destiny, and I never looked back. And I believe I went a long way. But I still look after my little brothers that I went to residential school with. I still look after my younger siblings. My baby sister turned 65 this month. We all became, I said, you're an old little sister now. So that is my journey. I got much more to talk about. But I think between residential school survivors, I think we have to spend time to talk about it between each other. That's the best way to do it. Let the people experience, let them heal together. Thank you.
Ishnius, thank you, Mexican, for sharing your story and for being honest and open about what the process was like for you, and recognizing the importance of healing between our families, within our families, between nations, and how you can rise above adversity to make such a big difference and become a leader in your community. Ishnius, thank you for all of that. It's always an honor to hear you speak. Always a pleasure. Thank you. All right, I saw some finger pointing over there, so I think that was the sign for our next speaker. Our next speaker, excuse me, is Yumotata Money, Alice Kakwitz, which translates as Grizzly Bear Walking. Alice has worked for decades in her own community of Minithni in a management capacity, as well as founding and operating Nakota Services, a service provider for children in care. Over the last several years, she has been invited to participate and share her knowledge and expertise from her Iyithka Stony Nakota perspective by numerous elders advisory groups and organizations, including Mount Royal University's Indigenization and Engagement Strategy, the Elders Guidance Circle with the Calgary Public Library, the City of Calgary, Spirit-Aligned Women's Leadership in the United States, and the National Gathering of Elders, where she sits on their Elders Advisory Committee. Today, her work primarily consists of consulting, advising, conducting ceremonies, and presenting on on topics such as traditional parenting, Stoney Nakoda history, culture, and the Stoney Nakoda Siouan language. She hosts a radio show every Saturday morning on CJWE FM 88.1, which is an Indigenous owned and operated radio station owner is Bert Crowfoot, alongside Thomas Snow, myself. The show is called Conversational Nakota, and Alice is involved in writing a Nakota dictionary with good Stoney First Nation members. Please join me in welcoming Yumo Tatamani Alice Kakwitz.
Ambawastits chigyabnastiats dagun chawa nangu isnisin chaganastiats ne what hijabiga muspe unchakiabi hungadwanid ne intwagi hamine upi unchoidinats nangu ne hijabi ne hibines snies ambawastits. It's a beautiful day today, and this month has been a time of reflection for all of us. And I want to begin by thanking SAIT, Chinook Lodge, and all the staff for inviting us to share our stories. And I want to thank my fellow elders, knowledge keepers, leaders. And as I sit here, as Clarence was being introduced, I thought of our journeys. And despite going through what we went through as children, we're still here. We're sitting here. And I was so amazed at Clarence's accomplishments and the warrior within him. As a leader, working for decades within his own community, for sharing all that knowledge and that fearless attitude and empowering our young people. Clarence and I are part of the elder circles everywhere around Calgary, and we often sit in panels together, and as long as we stay out of whose territory we're on, we're fine. So we try and stay away from the topic of territory and our land claims. Once we do that, we can share, we can laugh, and to promote healing and to empower our young people. So I wanted to say that his sneeze Clarence. And I am a residential school survivor. I've spent over 7 years in residential school. No, when I look at life, my innocent life before I went to this place of horror, I was innocent. I was loved. I was nurtured. And a loving, warm, and family that loved me unconditionally, saw me as being precious. And I came from a place, we had a home called in Rabbit Lake. And for my siblings and I, that was the safest place that we ever knew. There was no other world. There was no outside world. We lived in a place where we connected with the land, with the environment. We had what we needed. We thrived in that environment. My mother was a single mother by the time I came along. She was the main provider. She was an excellent hunter, gardener, and my mother was an only child. So all the responsibilities of life was left on her shoulder. And she carried herself so graciously, so proud. She never joined the army or never went into battles. But my mother was a warrior. My mother was a Mancusa. And my grandparents loved and nurtured us. My brothers, my sisters, and I would play through the creeks that ran through where we lived, climb trees, often went with Grandpa to check his snares. That was my life before I went into that school of horror. I remember my very first day. Within our culture, we had our own clothes. And I remember being dressed up with this really beautiful floral traditional dress, moccasins, jacket. And I had long braids. Just like Clarence, I remember going up those stairs. Once I entered that building, my whole life changed forever. I was taken downstairs like Clarence. Then, no, you had this powder just all over your body. Then you had to go upstairs a couple flights. There's an attic there where they kept clothes for those students that were there. And we'd get fitted. And I remember being fitted with these really brown, ugly shoes. I'll say ugly because that was, to me, that was what I had to wear for many, many years. And the shoes were so small that my feet would hurt. And that really impacted me. No, when you look at the residential school system, it impacted every aspect of our lives. Physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So growing up in that environment, we were physically abused. I've suffered from so many physical abuses. No, we all remember the strap, that orange and black turbine strap. I still remember the when that strap was used on you. The rulers and the abuse that occurred during my years there. There were many forms of abuses. If you look at the physical abuse, your hair was cut. You had chemicals applied to your body. You had your clothes taken away. And you were made to feel like you'd never existed. And the abuse, the physical, the sexual abuse, being raped, and so forth, being slapped around all the time. No, there were many types of abuses that I had to endure. The abuse that came from your supervisors who were there to protect you. Waking up at night, in the middle of the night, and being awakened and taken to a room. Your body being sore. The abuse that came from the kitchen staff when you had to do chores in the kitchen. The abuse that you had to endure from the so-called teachers. The abuse from other older students as well. So we suffered so much. The psychological abuse that occurred that I had to endure. No, you're told every day that you're worthless. You won't amount to anything. You're stupid. And so forth. The mental abuse. And the spiritual confusion. And I think for me that was the most difficult things that I had to endure, was the physical, emotional, mental, but most of all that spiritual confusion that impacted us psychologically. No, as children, we had to go to Bible school. And as children, we were told that we were going to go to hell. And the fear that came along with all those teachings was so psychologically damaging. And the impact of all the tragedies, the horrors that happened in our lives is very, very difficult to discuss. I stayed there for 7 years. I left in 1969 when the residential school closed. But I knew when I walked out of there the impact it had on my life. And how silent we were, because the abuse was always followed by this constant threat that if we ever told anyone, we were told that horrible things would follow. So we were silenced. Even after, when I went home, I don't remember having a discussion with my family. I don't remember sitting down or sharing what happened to me with my mother or my stepfather or my siblings. But I knew as I became older, the impact of what happened to me affected my life. The psychological damage, the spiritual damage, the emotional damage, the mental, affected every aspect of my life. I remember the exact day when my voice was taken away and silent. We were at this Christmas concert, and I had to read a poem. And when I got on stage, I got so nervous, and my voice was shaking, and the teacher was there. And when I went up stage, I froze, and I couldn't speak. That wasn't what happened. What happened after that was what took my voice away. The slap, the spitting on a 7-year-old's face, shaking her so hard that her teeth shattered, not being able to speak in public after that. Well, those were the effects that the residential school had on us. No, what we smell today, no, if there's something being cooked or something, or if I smell something, I can get triggered. What I see out there, I can get a trigger. What I feel, and so forth. They're all triggers for me. But I have traveled, I've journeyed a long way. I've been able to reflect. I've been able to research. I've been able to take that journey back and understand why those things happen, and how all those things that happen aren't my fault. I was a child. And educating myself. And I know that today, if you look at it, my life wasn't the only one that was affected. It was my grandparents, my mother, my father, myself, but also my children and the entire community. We suffer from intergenerational trauma. Today, we're losing our people at a very high rate. We have young people coming into our cities, into Winchispa, and we're taking them home in coffins. So that's all a direct result from the effects of the residential school. But I know that in sharing, in hearing each other's stories, we can all heal together. No, I encourage students to continue your education so that you can come back to our communities and help our people to have compassion and to journey forward on this road of truth and reconciliation. Isnias.
So I also get nervous when I go up to talk. And I realized that I forgot to offer tobacco. I'll talk about my mom's story real quick here, but forgot to offer the tobacco for hearing and sharing your story. And you know, my Alice Kikwitz is my mother, and I wonder if we could celebrate and honor our speakers and survivors here who had their voice taken away, but then regained it. And not only regained it, but spoke power to truth, and truth to power. To be able to hear that story and then journey in time and come back into an institution and to share so openly. There's something amazing in that, isn't there? There's something powerful in that, isn't there? And it demonstrates something that we can all keep in our hearts the next time that we feel silenced. The next time when someone is saying that that's not important, that's not true, that didn't happen. I want you to keep that ember in your heart and remember what our survivors went through to be able to speak the truth here today. So with that, I'm going to offer this last tobacco to our last speaker here. I'll offer you this tobacco. And then I'm going to read her bio, because the bios always sound so amazing. I love hearing a story. And I know that my mom's actually is an outdated bio because she teaches in the Faculty of Nursing at Mount Royal University, actually. So our last speaker is Betty Crazy Boy from the Piikani Nation, a member of the Blackfoot Confederacy, which was a signatory to Treaty 7. Betty is a residential school survivor and a first-generation college graduate of the social work program at Mount Royal University. Betty dedicated her career to bettering the community and worked in Edmonton, Calgary, and her home nation as a social worker. Betty practices the traditional ways of life and is a ceremonialist that has earned the rights as a pipe carrier. She is a recognized elder in her home community at SAIT and at Mount Royal University. Betty has been a guest speaker in social work classes and in faculty and staff professional development sessions. And you will often find Betty on campus at Natoy-Sepoyis, our Chinook Lodge, visiting with students over a coffee while sharing knowledge, facilitating cultural workshops, or offering a prayer and a smudge. Betty feeds her community members back home when they are hungry and opens her door to those that need to talk. Betty has 2 sons and 2 daughters, 2 of whom have passed away recently and are being memorialized here. They're joining us, their photographs are here. And she has several grandchildren, nieces, nephews, and cousins that she loves to feed and spend time with. Can you join me in welcoming Betty Crazy Boy?
I'm comfortable. Not right now. I'm shaking. But when I'm with the students, I'm with the Nikusimenan, our children. They give me so much strength. They make me laugh. They make me happy. And when I go home with a joy in my heart. I love my kids. And so I try to do the best I can, help them tell my story about residence school, give them encouragement to keep on going to school. That's your goal. That's your life. And so by encouraging them, I said, you have a home, this center here. Steve and the staff make it so comfortable because we didn't have those. So a home away from home, safe environment, everything that you need, food, everything. Respect that. I don't ask them to respect me, but I ask them to respect the staff. But they respect me also. I work at Mount Royal too. I do the same. I'm like an in-house elder. That's my journey that I do now, helping the students. Somehow they can relate the stories I tell them about residential school to their own families to make that connection. To be able to relate to their grandfathers and grandmothers and mothers and fathers. The stories they never heard. They were aware that they went to residence school, but they never heard it. Just like me. I never heard anything from my mom and dad. It was like silence, we don't talk about it. My brothers and sisters, there's 9 of us. We all went to residence school in different times. So I could just imagine how my mom and dad felt when we're taken and they had no power to hold us. If they kept us, hid us, or whatever, they went to jail. They're even punished too. So I can't imagine what my mom and dad went through. All of us experience residence school in different ways. I can only tell you my story, but I can relate to my brothers and sisters because we suffered all the same fate. And I look around and I see that with my people right this year, 2023, we're still suffering. We all came home eventually, but we had to go to day school. We're transported to a day school where we suffered the same abuse because the teachers or whatever were from there moved into that one. So another 2 years. And this time, kids already knew how to bully. The kids that were from residence school, they lashed out because we couldn't do that there. We couldn't cry. We couldn't show emotions. We couldn't do nothing. We went through mental, physically, emotionally, psychological, health, sex abuse. It must have happened all over the place because I hear that from the students. I hear that from people. It happened up north. It happened across Canada. It happened in the States. It was total genocide, and you can't steer away from that. They took us for the purpose of disintegrating the family unity. And that was our core in our culture, the children. They took away our culture. We couldn't pray. We couldn't smudge. We couldn't do that. It was heathen. It was evil. You're devil worshippers. Oh, well, we didn't even know. I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. We didn't know what those words were. And we got punished if we spoke our language. They pulled our ears. I used to tell my siblings, I have real big ears, because they were always pulling it. They pulled our hair. They whipped us. A lot of physical damage. And like Claire was saying, those straps, it was like canvas sewed on layers and layers. And those things really hurt. So I didn't have a happy childhood. I didn't even know what a happy childhood was. They cut my hair. Hair is a symbol in our culture of strength, of identity. I remember my hair was really long, braided. They cut it to about below my ears. They didn't teach us nothing. I don't recall math, English, whatever. It was really religious cult. They converted us to their way of life, the white man's way of life. Well, I should say Western life. Language, religion, everything. So it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't nice growing up. It was unhealthy. I was sick 2 times with double pneumonia, and nobody looked after me. I'm lucky I survived, because I would have been behind that building underneath. I don't know why I survived. There's so many hideous things I could tell you what happened. Mentally, physically, emotionally, psychological. Those things were in here for life. And when we got home, I didn't even know my brothers and sisters. I didn't even know them. All I know is my mom, my dad, my brother, my brother Arnold, my brother Gerald, and they all suffered the same fate. Well, to cope with that trauma, my family was involved in alcohol. My mom, my dad, my brothers. My dad and my brothers. 3 of my brothers, my dad. They all died through alcohol. In different ways. Suicide, froze to death, cirrhosis, all violent. There have been a lot of deaths in my family. And it has all have to do with the residential school and day school. There's no going around it. Because what we suffered was a product of that. I see that now. Because it's every generation is affected by that. My parents followed through to me, residential school, and to my children. because I became an alcoholic. I got involved in drugs. So my kids suffered that. But I'm thankful for my teachings and my love for my children so much. And talking to them. It was hard. But I asked them to forgive me as I didn't know any better. That I love them and I do anything for them. I'll support them and this and that. And my kids are loving, caring, and they forgave me. The rest of my family, they're still in a shamble. I've lost so many nieces and nephews to alcohol, drugs, crystal meth, suicide, accidents. I have one adopted daughter, murdered, missing. I can relate to all these things that are happening to us. Justice, everything. I could go on and on and on. I was fortunate that there's some people that helped me. So I got support. I got support by 3 elders. One, my culture. One woman to learn to look after myself as a woman and respect myself. And a psychologist that I worked with for 5 years. Because I was so damaged in here, all I could see was a little girl, small, skinny little girl, sitting by that door, exit sign, where there's a big steel door, and I could not get out. I don't see her anymore. I see a different me. So I made an effort to deal with my alcohol, my drugs, relationships, to better myself, for my children, and for me. It's a long journey, and my journey is still continuing. I'm not going to get over it. But I have the tools to cope with, tools to rescue myself. And I have so much support. I didn't have any then. So much support. Clarence, I go to him as my elder. I go to the staff too. I go to my children. I'm not alone anymore. And I thank the Creator, because the Creator was the one that put my whole life together, my spirituality. And that completed everything in my life. Yeah, there's flashbacks. There's nightmares. I was apprehensive last night. I couldn't sleep last night. But I'll make it. I'll be okay. I have the love of my children, my grandchildren. The love of my people and the students. I'm one of the lucky ones. Because I still see that on the streets. I still see that in my community, on the reserve. Our people are still lost, grieving, living in shame, guilt. I can't do nothing. But the only thing I could do was pray for them and help them if I can. And I'll continue this journey. I'm 71 years old. I still got some years. But I'll continue helping, because That's how much I love my people. That's how much I care about them. Hi, hi.
Yes. Thank you, Betty, for sharing your story and recognizing the roots of our community's addictions. Dr. Gabor Mate famously said that the gateway drug is not marijuana, it's not crystal meth. The gateway drug is trauma. And the trauma that we heard about today in the residential schools, you know, those are the roots of a lot of what you see, the suffering that you see now, because addictions are not the problem. An addiction is a solution for the person that is suffering. And too many of our relatives, our loved ones, and our community members are suffering right now with no way to alleviate that suffering that's available to them. And so you have the addictions. And, you know, I work in radio, as well as at the lodge, but I work in radio, and I'm oftentimes, I think they select us because we always have something to say. Except today, I felt like there were moments where I just, sometimes the silence is necessary. Sometimes the silence is speaking. So I want to honor and thank our speakers here today. And, you know, it's customary for us across all of our nations to sing a song. To sing a song to honor the spirits, to honor the space, to feel the vibrations of that sacred drum. And we've got an honor song that's going to be performed by you. Not by you. Sorry, I'm kind of confused. We've got a special presentation here for our elders, our speakers, and for our community here. We've got Mitoshka, Kyle Snow, and Gina One Spot here today. And Gina is going to be performing a jingle dress dance. And the significance, the jingle dress comes from our relatives out east. And if you notice the sounds, Gina, could you give us a jingle? Well, in their original dresses that you see, they weren't adorned with jingles, the jingles you see now. They were actually shells. And the belief was that the shell, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of the shells and the crustaceans and the things that live in those oceans purify those waters. And so they take in waste, and through they process them, and they purify the space. And so those shells would purify the energies and the bad energies, the negative energies, the hurt, the illnesses. Because we believe that illness is not simply a physical malady, it's something to do with the entirety of the person. That's taking a holistic look at health. And so those jingles on there represent those shells that would purify illness from a person. And so the vibrations that you'll hear from both the drum, the song, as well as the jingles, are here to purify this space, to cleanse the space. And so if you feel a lot of hurt, if you feel a lot of pain, anguish, anxiety, I want you to lean into the song, lean into the sound of the jingles, and give that hurt over. Give that hurt over so that you can walk forward in a good way, in a lightened way, in a way of strength and power. So I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna hold this. Oh, wait, hold on. All right, we got a 2-for-1 special here for you today. No, I'm just joking. We're actually gonna sing an honor song first to honor our elders, our speakers here today. For those that lost their voices and couldn't speak, and those that never had the opportunity because they never left the schools. And so we want to honor all of those today, and Mituska is going to sing an honor song. If everyone could please rise. So next we'll have our jingle dress dance. Again, this is a healing dance. All of that hurt, all of that sadness, all of that pain. Gina is gonna dance and Mituska is gonna sing a song for her. And they're just figuring out which way they're gonna dance right now. Actually, could I get a quick helper here? Let's move this table to the side here. Round of applause for Mituska, Kyle Snow, and Mitosa, Gina, 1 spot. Now, that usually is done with a very large drum and about 10 to 12 very large men. So Mituska did a fantastic job of singing. And Mitosa actually just had a little baby about 2 months back. And so I think she's showing us the resilience and strength of our Indigenous women there, offering a dance for you guys. She just had a little one. It reminds me of the old stories where our grandmothers would go down, they'd get off their horse, they'd go to the midwife, they'd have their babies, and then go back on their horses with their babies. They're very, very strong. So we've got some closing remarks, I believe. If I'm going to keep talking while I walk over here and check my schedule. Nope. We're going to have a moment of silence at this time. So you've given all of your the herd over, and so we're going to reflect. We're going to honor those that never came home and those that never had the opportunity to speak their truth. So I invite you to reflect, think deeply about what you've heard today, honor it, hold it, and make a commitment to making sure this never happens again, to connecting the roots, understanding how we can empower our community members that are suffering, and how we can empower those that are willing to go and suffer and make a change for their communities, like here. When you feel ready, you can take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out, blow it out. Take another one in. Take a deep breath out. You can repeat that as long as you need. Bring yourself back to this moment. You're going to bring your spirit back here. And we're going to have, at this time, you ready, Jen? All right, I got the nod from Jen. At this time, I'm going to invite Jennifer Russell to offer some closing remarks. Jennifer is from the Office of Indigenous Engagement here at SAIT. Could you all invite me or join me in welcoming Jennifer Russell?
Oh boy, I'm really grateful for those deep breaths before I got up here. First, I just need to say my heart is just so full of gratitude, Ali, Betty, and Mexicum. The truth part of truth and reconciliation is the hardest part. If you didn't know, now you do. And my dad, Hayden Melting Tallow, is a survivor of residential school. And I can't imagine the strength, courage, and the love for all of these people in this room for you to come and share your stories so that we can understand more of the truth and then more what we need to do around reconciliation. So hi, and my heart is just overfull with gratitude. Thank you so much. So the last residential school closed in 1996. It was not 100 years ago. It was not 50 years ago. It was literally 27 years ago the last residential school closed in Saskatchewan in Canada. The next steps that we take at SAIT are really, really important because of so many reasons, but mostly because of the individuals sitting up here today. The way that we can honor these stories and the bravery witnessed here today for our benefit is to follow through with the calls to action for truth and reconciliation, to look at the calls to action for all Canadians. You can be a newcomer to Canada or born and raised here. Those are just some small little acts that can contribute to changing this country in the right way so that this never happens again. And I feel like we have what we need. We have the tools. We have every single thing we need to do this work. We don't need a miracle. We have every single thing we need. So if you have an open heart and an open mind, please just stay tuned as we will walk along this journey towards truth and reconciliation at SAIT. Hi, hi.
Thank you, Jennifer Russell. At this time, I'll call up our Chinook Lodge keeper, Natoy Sepoy. Oh, wait. Natoy Sepoy's his lodge keeper here at SAIT. Steve Kootenay-Jobin. Could you all join me in welcoming Steve Kootenay-Jobin, who's the man behind the scenes in all of this?
Ambawastich, Oki, Dadadastara, Tanche. Thank you all for joining us today. When I came to SAIT in December, I wanted to bring about change. And part of this change that is very important in this reconciliation process is truth. A lot of my former colleagues and friends were very, very shocked when I left Mount Royal. It was a place where I had planted my roots, and it was home for a very long time. People have asked me, what is SAIT like? You know, before coming here, people were like, it's a very, very different culture. It's a polytechnic. And since arriving, I keep on telling people, I'm excited for the change. I feel like we have a blank canvas here. I told them that our community here has been supportive, and many of the initiatives and ideas that I have brought forward have been supported. I know that as we begin our journey towards reconciliation at SAIT, that we are going to be going full steam ahead. Once these changes are implemented, we have things like a strategic plan that's in the development right now. We're going to see this place change and the culture change very, very fast. It was something you went through previously. It's been an honor to have the SAIT Truth and Reconciliation event series supported by our senior leadership, having community members like yourself come out where we can hear the truth, have an opportunity to heal, understand, and build relationships. It's moments like this that's going to bring our path forward, where we create a sense of understanding, because for far too long, this history was hidden. It was swept underneath the carpet, and it was a very, very dark time in Canadian history. And I always use the term Canadian history because oftentimes people think this is Indigenous history, and it is not. These are impacts of what has happened to us, forming as a country and a society, and I'm very, very hopeful that we got into this situation together, and together we're gonna get out of it. Thank you for joining us today. Please continue to join us for the other events coming up each day going forward, and please come out to the march on Thursday, the 28th, wear an orange shirt, and let's march for reconciliation with the message that every child matters. Ishniish, thank you.
All right, and now we've got gifts for our speakers as a way to say thank you, a way to show gratitude. So we've got students, we've got a student here who actually told me that the last residential school did not close in 1996, but 2006. 2001. Thank you for correcting me. Now that's the kind of correction that we all need, on the spot and accurate. Again, this is a good reminder that if you are inviting your elders to meetings, to anything, to share knowledge, it's customary to offer tobacco and a gift as well for their time. A good thing to give is oven mitts, apparently. We've got a lot of those. Elders love to make bannock. And so if you haven't yet tasted bannock, feel free to grab some at the back. For all of those of you that are listening in, maybe you're not down here with us, but you can hear my voice, feel free to come and taste some of our indigenous cuisine. We've got bannock here for everyone, as well as tea, water at the back. We're going to have a closing prayer at this time, and that will conclude our event. We thank you all for joining us today and encourage you and invite you to attend more of our sessions here today, or stop by Natoy Sepoyis, which is formerly called the Chinook Lodge. Myself, Steve Kootenay-Jobin. My name is Thomas Snow. I'm SAIT's first ever Indigenous Knowledge Keeper. I'm there full time, and so if you have any questions, don't be shy, come stop by. So who would like to offer a closing prayer? Wastang gitunta. I think Clarence did the opening, so wasta gitu nina. Yes. I see everyone looking at my mom here, so I'll pass it to her.
Yes, want to thank SAIT and all the organizers for allowing us to share our truth. And the truth is very, very difficult to hear because a lot of times we want to reconcile. But the truth needs to be told in order for us to move forward. And this is a safe space to share so that we can all move forward together and to support each other and to build relations with one another and to do our part. And a lot of times I'm asked, what do I need to do to reconcile? A lot of experts have worked on that process and have done their research in reconciliation. No, I encourage you to read the 94 calls to action. Many of our Indigenous people are writing books. I encourage you to do your research so that we can all contribute together. And Isnias, thank you. So with that, I'll do a closing prayer in my language so that we can safely return to our homes with our spirits, because today's a very emotional day for us. Sneeze. Hai no waninkane no nangaha amado hoste dentro ha taido do hoste dentro ha inone no hekta do keni hiubike no oi nagamine ino no yako hechi dauskan no dauskan winchtatsinke yako no ingo pavisinchit winchibas ingubitsin no nihedra nginging abine ngitatsimine no ingitatsamine ingitanaribine ko ongis no was ingitchiabitsin no nedaha to kami nabis gis niminsa yuhai nabitsin nangune wathijabiga dagu ayabines o chakia wasabitra unchaku no toing jigi hamine no da wangi chamina no gis niminsa no yuhabitsi no was no zenamahuchi times sneers sneer.
Thank you. All right, we're done. I don't know what to say now, so. Again, make sure you try some bannock. It's at the back. We've got wahpe, we've got tea, we got mini, water, and bannock. Or is it fry bread? Hey, the mystery continues. They want fry bread.